Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 204 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest. Joining for the first time on the podcast, my good friend Stefan Gill is on the show. How's it going, Stefan?
Howdy.
It's very good to see you.
It's going good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We have you here, Stefan. This is going to be a very exciting episode. In fact, I've been excited to record this episode all fucking week, gang. We're going to be talking all about the Super Mario Brothers movie. It's finally out. We've all seen it. Stefan and I were at the same screening. And we're going to be talking all of our non-spoiler thoughts on the episode at the beginning of the main segment here. And then we're going to be going into our spoiler thoughts on this episode as well. Don't worry, before we get to the spoiler section, we'll clearly say we're doing it. We'll have timestamps in the description of this episode and everything, so you can skip around. You could skip the spoiler discussion if you have yet to see the movie. But man, I'm excited to talk about this movie, and I'm not going to say what I thought about it, so you'll stick around until that part of the episode. We've also got tons of news and rumors we're going to be talking about. Pokemon Stadium was announced for Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. The Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters finally have a release date, and it's really fucking soon. Some recent rare prototypes have been dropping, and then just a bunch of news about how this Mario movie has broken all of the records like we were all saying it would this whole time. We'll be getting into all of that on today's episode. I'm excited. But before we get into all that, how are you guys doing? How was your past week?
It's been fine. It's good. I feel like I've not been doing the work I need to be doing. I've been a little distracted, but you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to hunker down.
Very good. If I hear one peep from you tomorrow, Patrick.
If you see me playing Splatoon online, be disappointed in me. That's the problem I've been having, if I'm being honest.
You're logged into my Switch account, so if I see you playing Splatoon online tomorrow, Patrick, I'll just delete your account. How's that sound? That's called holding your buddies accountable.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, by the way, but I'll call you or something. I'll be like, stop.
I need to stop. It's been a problem. I'll be like, you know what? One match. And then like 2 hours later, I'm like, I gotta work. And then, but one more match.
Yeah, man. You should try crack cocaine.
My addictive personality will do great.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing pretty good. I had a fun weekend. It was pretty chill for the most part. I hacked my 3DS this weekend. It was incredibly easy to do. Very, very simple guides you can use. And I really recommend everybody do that, especially now that the 3DS eShops are down. I feel especially morally vindicated, given that I did a little spending spree before the stores went down. So grabbing a few extra games that I didn't buy before it went down, I don't feel too bad about since they're no longer available to purchase. So that was fun. And then what else? I saw Jesus Christ Superstar on Sunday at a friend's house. It was Easter.
I was like, you went to a play.
No, I did play some tennis though. I had a good time playing some tennis this weekend. I'm a little sore, but man, it feels good to play. If you guys ever want to play, hit me up. What about you, Stefan? How have you been doing?
I've been doing pretty good. I saw this movie called the Super Mario Brothers movie on Wednesday. I'm sure we'll have some thoughts about that.
A promising young man, that Mario.
Yeah, promising young man of a very undeterminable age. But we'll save that for later. Yeah. This weekend I went to the Sherwood Forest Fair, which is
very cool.
Austin Renaissance Fair.
Did you dress up?
No, I'm not much of a dresser. It was
nude, strictly nude.
Yeah. No,
I don't wear clothes.
I just went up to people like on my all fours. And,
my goodness!
Yeah,
wow, that sounds like You played the bear at the Renaissance Festival. That's great.
Like BEHR.
Then
I had on Saturday I had a Passover party at a friend of mine's, and then on Sunday I had an Easter brunch. So I'm like, well, we're getting Old Testament and New Testament, you know?
Yeah,
you got to do it all.
It was Ramadan this weekend too.
It was Iftar. Yeah, Ramadan is a month long thing that has
Right. It was a big weekend for all the religions. And atheists just sat at home and had a nice time. It was good for everybody, I think. Everybody was getting drunk this weekend. Anyway, I'm very excited to have you on, Stefan. I just wanted to say, I've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time. But you've never really had a Switch. And so I was like, when were we ever going to get Stefan on the show? And I felt like this was a perfect opportunity because we saw the movie together. So I'm very excited to have you on.
Oh, thank you. I'm eager to talk about a corporate success story such as this.
Well, before we get into the news and the Mario movie stuff, we got a few shout outs. Just a couple real quick. Over on the YouTube channel, Sprawlix2 said, yo, honestly, this guest slapped when talking about our last guest, Vincent Goodwin, who came on to join us for the E3 is Dead episode. Lots of love for Vincent, I think, actually.
We gotta get him back on the show again, Stat. That was a super fun one.
We convinced Vincent to join the Discord, and that's been great too. So
I listened to that myself, and I was like, wow, I love reminiscing on E3 and like what it used to mean and all that, and then like how it's like you're never putting that toothpaste back in the bottle.
yeah, it's a difficult thing to maneuver.
And then over on Facebook, Carasetta, our friend Carasetta made a comment about the art and that we had for that episode. So and that was great art. And just quick shout out, if you don't know, David helps do the art, but also a big person who is involved in doing our art is Matthew. He's still around doing the art. So that was Matthew. If you like the art, it's Matthew and David. Right.
Matt's the idea man. They're always like Matt's ideas, and I just do the little tweaks. Yeah.
And then we've got some comments on some of our old episodes recently too, like the Game Boy one in particular. And I apologize, I didn't do a good job aggregating those. I just noticed them. So thanks if you commented on something more than a week out from when we do it. I apologize if I miss your comment.
We read all of them and we take them all to heart.
Yes.
And we stitch them into a little pillow that we lay our heads upon as we drift softly to sleep.
Together. Yeah.
Me and Patrick, we're roommates and we share one bed.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
if you take their cameras and just flip it 180 degrees, you'll see the other person recording right now.
Yeah, we just can't afford a wide shot. Yeah.
So we do appreciate hearing from listeners and viewers and such. Definitely send us a note on anything we talk about today in the news or your thoughts on the Mario movie. We'll try to give you a shout out next time. And also remember to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. We do video stuff. And, if you don't watch that, then maybe leave us a review on Apple or somewhere. We appreciate anything like that. And with that, are we ready to we got a lot of news, so we should get into it, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So first up is this case actually dropped like right after we recorded last time. So this is somewhat old news, but Pokemon Stadium is the next game joining Nintendo Switch Online for the N64 app. So you have to have the extra expansion pack, but it's coming out April 12th, which I think is the date this releases. So if you're excited,
it's probably already out now. Yeah.
If you're listening to this, then you can, and you have the expansion pack, you can go play Pokemon Stadium. There was a lot of speculation that maybe this would tie in somehow, right, with like Game Boy games and stuff like that, but that didn't happen, right?
Right.
So I guess I don't know what this means, but
yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, basically, the game is like perfectly functional on its own without the Game Boy Transfer Pack ability, but I mean, that was like the selling point of the game, right? Was taking your Pokemon from your Game Boy game, bringing them on the big screen and fighting with them that way, right? The way that the game kind of fixes that is there are like rental Pokemon that you can grab. So you can get all 150 Pokemon in the game, but they're like, I think they're stuck at level 50. I might be mistaken, but they like have only their own moves and it's not the ones that you kind of brought up yourself. So, I mean, obviously there are no Game Boy games. There are no Game Boy Pokemon games on NSO at all, right? So this wouldn't be possible now. I think people are just kind of holding out hope that this would be coming after the Game Boy games, and they work in some sort of functionality to allow that to happen, because that really is the best thing about the game. There's lots of other great stuff in this game too. The mini games are amazing. It's got a cool vibe and stuff like that, but it does feel like it's a bit of half of a release, given that functionality is not present. I don't know that any like expansion pack or what do you call it? Any of the things you plug into the controller, like none of that functionality is really in NSO except for Rumble, right? Like I think games that required like the memory pack don't work still, so maybe that's something to do with the emulator itself, but it's a shame, and I wish this had played out a little bit differently.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to, this is a weird one, right? There's a rumor that Sony has a new handheld device, and before you get too excited, this comes from Insider Gaming, and apparently they are saying that it's more like it's codenamed Q Lite, and they say they have some source that this is in development, and that it's not like independent. It's like the Wii U, right? It's like remote. It's like a little controller. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this from reading it. It's not what you would think is what I would have to say, right?
Yeah.
If they're to be believed. So first of all, this isn't confirmed, right?
Right. Yeah. There's really only one source on this, and he's been getting a lot of like Sony hardware, like rumors and scoops, quote unquote. So it's like, there are people, I think MVG on the Spawncast was recently like, this is bullshit. Like, he just doesn't believe it, right? But I think but either way, it sounds too stupid to be real.
Right, that's what's hard to believe about it, is because if they're going to make...
So it's just a device for remote play, basically.
Yeah,
basically.
at your house.
Yeah.
And you have to
probably
have a
also
PS5.
do like cloud streaming and stuff like that, but I think it's like...
Well, they said
it might not even
not
do
a cloud stream, specifically in this article. Again,
that's even
to be
stupider.
believed.
I know.
It is just remote play with your PlayStation 5. And that's why I'm like, it's sort of like, didn't the Wii U do this? Like,
right.
And fail, kind of.
Like if you could remote play like as far away as possible from your device, that'd be one thing. That'd be kind of interesting development. Like, but yeah, if it's just
like a local network or something,
and be like, Mom, turn the PlayStation 5 on.
Yeah,
are you shouting that from like your office?
Yeah, like way far.
Yeah. No, this wasn't a kid.
yeah.
Oh, from my basement. Yeah.
I need mac and cheese.
And the PS5.
No, I mean, this is so stupid. I hope it's not real. I don't know. If it is real, it's like it's another what will probably be an expensive peripheral that you need a PS5 to use, like the PSVR 2, which apparently has abysmal sales from everything that I've heard. And it's $550. It's more than the cost of a PlayStation 5 for the
and you have
headset,
to have
right?
the PlayStation 5 and you
exactly.
transfer your PSVR 1 games, yada yada.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's I don't really know what they're doing now. If this had been a rumor about like a Vita successor and like an actual handheld that can play PlayStation games on it, even if it's like PS4 games, like that would have been super fucking hype. You know what I mean? It would have given them a good reason to still be making all these cross-gen games. Steam Deck is basically doing something like that now with PC stuff. And the thing that's really stupid about this is the Steam Deck can do all of this, right? While also, being probably cheaper than this thing is going to be, not needing a PS5. And, so it's just, I don't know. I don't really get it. I wish Sony would get back in the handheld game because I thought their handhelds were amazing. And I think more competition is good, but I don't know. We'll see if this even turns out to be a real thing.
Right.
No company ever fully gets out of the handheld, business because they just see how much money Nintendo is making hand and fist over everything they've ever done with a handheld, including now just their permanent console. So it's like we have to find a way to crack that code, and then they try something that's way too powerful and it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like it's like the Nintendo was the only handheld like console in the game anymore, right? Like they kind of killed all the competition, and then they kind of killed the handheld, right? Because they made the Switch, which is like a hybrid thing, and that's their only pillar. And now it's cool seeing everybody trying to get back into the handheld space again, because it's kind of both, right? And so either way, I really get off on watching gaming industry trends, like following Nintendo. I just think it's really funny. It's like everything they do, everybody just tries to copy it immediately afterwards.
Yeah, and it's weird that they're like, to this day, like their strategy of like, we're not going for the most powerful, we're going for the most convenient. It's always worked for them, and
it's worked for 40 years. Yeah.
And even like when they tried it with their consoles, basically with the GameCube and then the Wii, is to some extent, where it's like, but then it was just like, well, once they got to the hybrid, I think that was like the ultimate version of that, where it's like, well, now we have an advantage instead of it just being like weaker but easier to work with,
Mm-hmm.
I have comments that I want to make to what you just said, Stefan, but they kind of apply to the movie too, so I'm going to hold off on them.
Okay, cool.
But it's a hybrid movie.
It kind of is. Yeah.
We'll move on with this then too. I just am really curious what this means, but if it's true, but we'll move on. So in North America, you've been able to get your Switch Joy-Cons repaired for free if they get the drift, and they will get the drift eventually, most likely. But now over in Europe, you can also get them fixed for free, thanks to what's the EU Commission, I guess, is forced Nintendo to do this, or convince them to, or whatever. Because they've been investigating this for a long time. I remember like years ago we talked about this. So, yeah, it's good. It kind of comes with a bunch of other really great right to repair legislation that's been passed, and I think a lot of that has a lot of people in the US also trying to push a lot of that stuff, especially for companies like Apple, where they you get penalized for opening up and working on your machines. This was kind of roped in with some of that, and so this is good around the board. And I hope we've been able to get our Joy-Cons fixed here in the US for a while, but I hope a lot of that right to repair stuff comes stateside as well.
Yeah, I love the EU. They slowly will change technological trends.
Yep.
And like how the next round of iPhones going forward are going to be USB-C.
Excellent.
So it's like
best timeline.
And then Apple was literally like, we have no choice. The EU made us, and I'm like, well, EU, you're this powerful technology force.
Yeah. Other things
a lot of cell phone users in Europe. Yeah.
But yeah, we just wanted to mention that if you're in Europe, I guess, sorry if you're in the UK, that's what you get.
If it ain't felt like Brexit, don't fix it.
Anyway, we'll move on. The Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters are coming to the Switch and the PS4. The date has been revealed. It's April 19th. It's very soon. So like a week from when this comes out. And so that's cool. I know a lot of people have been waiting for it. And if you've been waiting for it to get it on the Switch or the PS4, good, probably, because they have fixed a few things, including one of the big complaints was the font that was used in these games. And they have changed, or at least there's an option to change the font. I'm not entirely sure if it's just...
Yeah, they've got the dog shit font that's in the original release, and they also have like a new pixel font that's throughout all the games. I know it just looks better. It just like... But it was a really ugly font before, and now it actually looks at home with all the rest of the pixel art on the screen. So that's good.
I know they've done one or two other things too, but I don't off the top of my head know what they are. And then I
know some of them, but you finish first.
Well, I was just going to say maybe these will come to the Steam releases, but I don't think that's been confirmed. I imagine it will, but at least as of now, it's not confirmed that's.
Uh,
And if not, you could just mod the Steam.
That's
versions,
true.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Stefan?
Yeah. So I know some of the things that they're doing is really interesting. You can turn off random encounters, which is a cool thing. You can also increase the experience. So you can do up to 4 times the experience. So you basically speed up leveling. So I think especially faster. Yeah, especially for like the first couple of them, that's probably going to be like a godsend, So Because so yeah, I'm excited. It's weird how they're selling it though, where it's like I was looking on the Sony store for my PS5. Sorry if I bring up the enemy, but
No,
I'm wearing a PlayStation hat.
I know.
It's okay. Yeah.
But they don't have an option to buy them yet, which is really weird. And also they say this will be a part of a bundle soon. And I was reading that like the first three, if you buy them individually, which is nice that you can buy them individually at least, but they'll be $12 each, and then the other three will be $18 each.
Mm-hmm.
But if you buy them a bundle, it's like $75.
That's the same on the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a little disappointed that the price was that high, but whatever. It's 6 games.
It's a little high. Yeah.
It's high. I mean, they know what they've got and they know the value of it, and people are going to pay it. I'm going to pay it. I'm probably not even going to play these fucking games. I just have Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and 10 on my Switch already. So it's like, I just need to see all 10 icons in a row. You know what I mean? Like that's literally why I'm going to be buying this. I mean, I've always wanted to play a lot of these that I've never played before. So I've got them if I want to play them. But you got to know, so many people are getting this just for the OCD.
Yeah. I do kind of want to play a couple of the ones I never beat. And hearing that you can turn off random encounters, I don't really recommend Final Fantasy 2. It's kind of the weakest of them because it has a really stupid leveling thing. And the way I suggest beating it is at the very beginning, you can go left instead of going right and then work your way down to a town you're not supposed to be at. Because it's just so hard, tough monsters. But if you can just skip all those monsters, the game is kind of broken anyway because of the way that the leveling works. But like that's what
maybe that's fixed in the
too.
Pixel remaster. They might have done. They did a lot of quality of life improvements.
Yeah, I hope so, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the PlayStation like Origins thing, and I never got anywhere on number 2.
Yeah.
I barely got anywhere on the first one either, but at least. Yeah, so I'm curious. Like, I'll probably buy the whole thing, but I have played 4, 5, and 6 multiple times. So I'm like, maybe I should just go for the first 3 just to try them. But
yeah,
we'll see.
They're not as good.
Yeah, there's also a trick in 6 that I think I was telling David this a couple weeks ago, where I wonder if you could do it the Pixel Remaster. There's a part in 6 where you're like on a raft and you have to select the right direction. If you select the wrong direction, it just goes on a loop and has an instant encounter. But the character with you has an auto heal option. So there's literally an option to make every button press the same every time. So like you instantly select. In the older versions, even the PlayStation version, you could just hold the button, have something holding the button down. You'll constantly go in a circle, constantly heal, and win each fight. And you could just leave for like a day. Just level.
Be totally overpowered.
Yeah. You could be 99.
Love it.
If anyone wants to do that, I wonder if they somehow are like Pixel is like, no, we shouldn't go this way. Where are you going? We're in a rush.
Biden's America.
Exactly. We can't have over level people.
Is that your Biden?
Yeah, my Biden's a little creepy.
Yeah,
that's more Joel Osteen.
First Final Fantasy I played. I'm not gonna do it anyway. Yeah, let's move on.
We'll move on. We're gonna talk about Splatoon 3. Extra work is coming up this weekend, April 14th through the 16th. There's been some details about extra work that have been data mined, and I think it was Ty Typos who shared this in our Discord. If you want to, there's a nice YouTube video out there that explains all this. If you want to go in without knowing all that, I won't break it down here for you. So it's going to be 5 waves that are the same every time. And what that means is they're not the same. Like wave 1 is not the same as wave 2, but if you play it a second time, it is the same. And
so it's like a seed.
It's a seed.
Of.
And in particular,
right.
What's really funny is this week I discovered that you can do that in Splatoon and Salmon Run if you do a private battle.
Mm-hmm.
So in private battles, you can actually save when you've played a Salmon Run, you can save that seed and you can then just replay it with your friends. My son and I were replaying, because he plays less than me, like the All Grisco mystery weapons, which was still in his history, we discovered that you could do this, and we were like, well, let's find some good ones in our history. And that's been a lot of fun because you kind of like memorize, like, okay, there's a stinger on our
the
left,
patterns and
it's hard to do with just 2 people. So but it was kind of a fun challenge. So
that's how you do like Binding of Isaac races as well with people, is you kind of like start with the same seed and then run through it and then try to see who can beat it first. It's a really cool way. You could probably do some cool meta games out of that.
Yeah, it is fun. And so I'm excited about that because there is something about that I'm excited about this event. We'll see how it goes, but yeah.
Cool.
So that's happening. We got a new Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboot camp trailer. Man, that name, Nintendo loves their naming conventions to be confusing for their re-releases, especially
U Deluxe plus Super Luigi U.
God, it's confusing. Yeah. But in which they gave the basics of battle, and this is a nice meaty trailer. We haven't heard a lot about this game since it got delayed, and if you're on the fence about it, definitely go check out this trailer because it really breaks down how you play the game and shows a lot of footage and the different modes and options and things. I don't know.
Picking this up?
I was going to ask you the same question.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think I'm going to pick. I've got one more voucher. I got the 2 vouchers and I used one to get Tears of the Kingdom. And I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to spend the other voucher on. And it'll probably be this, unless before the game comes out, something else drops that I could use a voucher on that I'm more interested in, like a Shadow Drop or something. I'll probably be picking this up.
Yeah. Well, I watching the trailer, what's funny is one of the things I'm most interested in is one of the things they completely glossed over, which is making your own maps and sharing them. Then they're just like, you can do that. And it's like, oh, okay. I wanted to know more about that. But yeah, I don't know if I feel really weird about this game. It's just a weird game. Like the art, and then but there's tanks and they're blowing up. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird dynamic. I don't know. I'll be interested to play it. Do you agree? Disagree? Like it's so cartoony and fun, and then they're killing each other.
I mean, did you never play the originals?
I've never played an Advance War game.
Yeah, I mean they're great. Yeah, I went through what you're going through back in like 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean they're great. They're really awesome games, and it's it's almost like a chiller kind of Fire Emblem with like kind of a goofier vibe, right? So I'm definitely excited to play these, and I think the new graphics look great. I've totally come around on them, and I'm excited.
I do kind of like that they're keeping like the scrunched up battle look, where like because it was for a Game Boy Advance, obviously, so that like you had to like maximize the screen somehow. So
it does feel a little tight. Yeah.
They've gotten the kind of toyetic look that like they did with Link's Awakening almost, where it's like they almost look like little plastic figurines now instead of pixel art characters. I think it looks great.
Yeah. Well, since we got a lot of news, we'll move on. Maybe we'll talk about that game later. In Pikmin 4, rumors, leaks. There's somebody who posted on Reddit some alleged leaks. They are presumably a playtester of the game based on what they said and how they said it. I'm not going to spoil this here. I read this. It's not too much details. It's about sort of the names, which we already kind of knew, I think, from the trailer, about a few other facts and about some of the different play modes and what's happening. I'm trying to hint at some of these things without saying them. Again, we don't know if this is true or not. I think they shared a screenshot or 2 as well. I don't know. If you're curious, you can go look it up. But what's funny is that like it didn't really strike me one way or the other reading it. But then I made a mistake and read the comments on. I think it was the My Nintendo News article that I was reading about it on. People were not happy in those comments.
That it was like spoiled?
No, just like, if this is true, this game sucks and stuff like that.
Whoa. Fucking hardcore Pikmin fans.
Yeah, like everybody's like, Pikmin 4 ruined. Which again,
when I saw it sounded pretty good. I was like, this sounds like a cool twist on some of the gameplay.
Don't read the comments.
I almost never do.
Yeah, I try not to, but then I did. I was kind of curious, like, is there anything in the comments where people like, like give me more information about this or anything, and it was just hate for if this is true, this game is going to be a failure.
If we know one thing about Nintendo, it's that they only put out non-hit failures.
Yeah.
It's not like Pikmin 3 for the Switch was the highest selling game in the series. Yeah.
I think you'd think at some point in a 30 plus years of just incredible games, that like you get like the benefit of the doubt at least once in a while.
Yeah.
But no.
I think what some of it is, and you just reminded me of this, is like, they're going to making it more mainstream. And it's like, duh. Yeah. Like, any of the, it's like, it sounds like it might be too easy with some people's complaints about it. But I'm like,
yeah, is Pikmin the Dark Souls of cute animated games or something? Like, what the heck?
It's the Command and Conquer Red Alert of Nintendo.
They have difficulty modes in Pikmin, so like,
yes,
pick the higher difficulty. Anyway, moving on. I don't know a lot about this, David, so I'm hoping you can talk about this. I don't know actually anything about it. Rare has been showing off some stuff about prototype games that never were released.
Yeah, it's not coming straight from Rare. This is coming from Tim Stamper on Twitter. But a couple weeks ago, Tim Stamper posted a video. He's an ex-Rare guy, or maybe he's still at Rare. I'm not sure if he's at Platonic or if he's at Rare. I should probably know that. But anyway, he was one of the original Rare guys. And he was showing off like 2 weeks ago footage from this like prototype of 12 Tales Conquer 64, which was a very family-friendly 3D collectathon platformer that they were going to make starring Conquer before the game was like famously scrapped and turned into this M-rated, very mature, like adult game. You know what I mean? But they pretty much got really far on 12 Tales, the Conquer 64 game. And he showed off like, it was like a prototype, like tall N64 cartridge that had it in there, and it was playing it on a TV, and you saw the whole opening menu and everything. And so that's been a very long sought after prototype for gaming historians who have wanted to see what this thing was all about before it got shelved. Rare has a few of these, right? Like Dinosaur Planet, before that got shelved and turned into Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube. They had an almost finished N64 game that got completely scrapped. Another game that they had that they were working on, Tim also showed off, which was basically it started off as a Super Nintendo game called Project Dreams that then they started turning into an N64 game once Super Mario 64 came out. But then that game was also shelved. That was kind of like a action RPG sort of game. And so he's just been going on a spree of like showing some of these never before seen kind of prototypes or early builds of these games, and it's got people just watering at the mouth, hoping that somebody dumps this, right, and gets it online. So it's just a really cool thing to do. Everybody should follow Tim Stamper. I think he's a really interesting follow on Twitter, and he's been showing lots of really cool stuff out there recently about some of these canceled Rare prototypes, and stuff like this just makes me real, Nintendo will just scrap like almost finished games and start completely new. You got to think that's what happened at Retro, right, over the past few years, why we haven't seen any big game out of them other than the Metroid Prime remaster in a really long time, right? So I think that practice is still going on today. And it's just, it's mind-numbing to think of how much shit is on the cutting room floor at Nintendo.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see, like, I don't know if this was nearly finished, but like games like Perfect Dark Zero and Cameo, Elements of Power, like how those were going to be like GameCube launch games and then being Xbox 360 launch games.
Yeah.
What I've always been curious about, I'm sure it's nothing, but like when Retro Studios was making Metroid Prime, they also had like another like RPG that they were making at the same time. They got announced and everything.
It wasn't announced, but that was the rumor, is that it was kind of a kind of musical or singing based RPG. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Worked on over there. Yeah.
I always thought there was one called like Raven Sword or something weird like that.
Yeah, maybe. They had lots of prototypes. I feel like Rare and Retro are like Retro is like the modern Rare. You know what I mean? Like Nintendo treats them the same way. Yeah. They even both work on Donkey Kong Country games.
Yep.
Well, moving on to another rumor. This one is for Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door. So I think this has actually been kind of rumored for a while and there was also sort of a big push by fans to request this from Nintendo.
Yeah, Arlo was leading that charge, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's right. But over on a website called Fanboards, like a BBS like forum type website, somebody named Pikmin Snezkov, who said that they have done hobby journalism and yada yada, and had some other rumors that they've passed on to other folks, is sharing that Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door Remaster is finally happening and coming out soon. Specifically, they said. So I don't know, if we believe this or not, or we're excited about it, or is this, if this is true, right? Like then like GameCube games are getting this sort of like remaster treatment in droves. If all these things are true.
I'm all for it, man. I think we need a Mario release of some kind this year, other than just the Mario Kart DLC, even though that's a fine tie-in for the movie, right? But I think like, having a Mario release this year with the release of the movie and the theme park and everything just makes a ton of sense. And if they fucking just drop shadow drop GameCube remaster every direct, I'll be happy. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a big fanfare for these. I think, somebody's been working on the background on a Thousand Year Door remaster. Boom. Maybe in the fall direct or September direct. Boom. F-Zero, right? F-Zero GX. Like, we've been getting lots of rumors about the GameCube. It feels like this is the GameCube's moment, right? And it makes sense, I think, that they would drop these for like $40 remastered instead of putting them on NSO. And so, yeah, I don't know if this is true or not, but I really hope it is, because it's a game that I've not played that I've heard is the best in the series.
Yeah, I only ever played the first one back on the old N64.
Yep.
And I think I randomly read game reviews that gave Thousand Year Door like kind of negative reviews, and so I was like, oh well, I'm not going to try that. And now in retrospect, everyone says like, oh, it's by far the best. Like, oh
yeah, it's remembered very fondly. Yeah.
Yep. Fool me.
People shit on Wind Waker too when it came out.
Yeah.
The GameCube years were maligned with critics and fans, but everybody looks back with very rose tinted glasses.
Yeah, it's like almost kind of like the Dreamcast, but except people actually did buy the GameCube when it came out. It was not a lot.
It was PS2 mania back then,
yeah.
man. It's like it's the best selling system of all time. That's all anybody was really playing. It's obviously Xbox was out too, but even then PS2 mopped the floor with them. It was just a totally different landscape in the gaming industry back then.
All right. Well, last up, we'll talk about sort of the news aspects of this. The Super Mario Bros. Movie released this past week. We're gonna, after the break, we're gonna really talk about it in terms of our impressions and our thoughts and feelings and break it down. But in terms of news information, the movie came out, and it is apparently the most successful opening weekend for any animated film ever. Now, somebody added a note or two in here that I think is pretty funny we should talk about, because maybe there's an asterisk there.
This was me.
I thought it was you. Can you explain the asterisk maybe behind this?
Well, it's a very minor asterisk, but like the Lion King remake is not considered animation, even though like so much of it is animation. Like, just because there's some like attempt at realism, it's literally listed as live action. So that one would definitely have the biggest one, which is
terrible movie.
That movie's garbage. But I just think it's funny that like they're like, no, we're actually we're one of those real boys. not all of every single one of our characters is animated. What are you talking about?
What's your other note?
The Incredibles 2 is the highest grossing animated movie in the U.S. $608 million, which is easy to forget. It's like, oh yeah, that movie came out and made a ton of money.
Yeah, that was a huge success.
Yeah, and then Frozen 2 is the biggest worldwide total, which is almost 1.5 billion. So it's curious to see like, wow, can Mario get close to this? That'd be fascinating.
I think it's gonna beat it. I think it's going to beat it. I think like, we'll talk about some of this in a bit, but I mean like 205 million in 5 days. That's the opening weekend. Mario movie kind of has April to itself. You know what I mean? It's gonna have this is gonna be a huge inflated opening, right? Because it was Easter weekend and all these all these families are together and they're all going out to see the Mario movie, right? But it's like the rest of the month is light for movie releases, right? I think it's really the only kids movie out. Puss in Boots has kind of finally ended its super long legs run, right? And now it's kind of Mario's game to lose. I just imagine the legs on this movie are going to be crazy. I already know a lot of people that have gone to see it multiple times. I was going to go see it a second time myself, but I just didn't really have time this weekend and couldn't make it work. I'm still going to. I want to go see this movie again. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to be like that, especially with the sheer amount of references and all this shit packed in, that blink and you miss it shit that's like baked into this movie for the fans. I think this movie's going to have incredible legs. I think it's only a matter of time before this thing hits $1 billion, and we'll probably pass Frozen 2 internationally.
Yeah. And it's also, really quick, it's already in the US the highest grossing video game movie of all time.
Yeah. I think
it will shortly be worldwide.
Yeah, it's just Warcraft has it beat right now, right?
Yeah, that or another one like that. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's already surpassed both of Sonic 1 and Sonic 2's full release grosses just in its opening weekend. It's nuts.
Yeah. Video games are big. Mario is big. Like, as somebody who has a child in elementary school and picks him up and drops him off, tons of Mario backpacks and stuff. Today I went up to my kid's school to have lunch with him at school, and I was wearing this shirt that I'm showing our video watchers, but to explain, it's a Mario Kart shirt. Multiple kids made comments to me, and one of which goes, "Have you seen the movie?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he, he wanted to talk about the movie. Some random kid I've never talked to. I was a little uncomfortable, to be honest with you.
You can talk to kids. You're just not meant to take them.
I don't know. I don't think the kid was supposed to be talking to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I'm not supposed to be fucking talking to you.
I don't talk to strangers, kid.
Yeah.
At any rate, point being, my son also told me, because I mentioned that to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, tons of my kids in my class already saw it." So I think this is going to be really big with kids and families and such. But yeah, is there anything else newsworthy like that we want to talk about before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, there's more records this thing has broken than just the ones we've talked about. It's the biggest Illumination movie by far. It completely blew out. Excuse me, the biggest Illumination opening, right? We have still yet to see how it's going to do in the long run, but this by far blew out. I think it was the other biggest was 115.
Is it Minions?
With Minions? Yeah, it's also the highest ever domestic 5-day opening ever. Not, most movies don't open on Wednesday, but I think before this, the one that had the record was a Transformers film. That was at 195 million. So this passed that by about 10 mil. So it's just breaking records left and right. And I think it's going to continue to do it. I think this is definitely going to be the biggest opening of the year, probably. And there's a lot of good movies coming out. This could very well be the highest grossing movie of the year as well. And we're only here in April, but I'll say this is a really, really fucking good idea for Nintendo to push this back to April, other than opening against Avatar, which is what it originally was doing. I think that would have been entertaining to watch as somebody who likes to track box office, but it's this was definitely the right move, right? To have it release it in this month all by itself. And Universal and Illumination and Nintendo have got to be very, very happy right now.
Yeah.
Critics reviews notwithstanding.
Oh, right. I guess that's the other newsworthy thing we could talk about. Kind of right before it came out and the embargo lifted, a lot of really negative reviews from critics. And I think that really tempered my expectations. Which maybe we can talk about in the main topic a little bit too,
yeah.
But,
I have a lot of thoughts.
I think we should. It's worth noting though that it has a 96% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes,
but a really low critics one, right?
Yeah, it's double the critics. Yeah.
It's been an incredible amount of people have been like, "Oh, the critics, they don't like to have fun." I'm just Wow, I always laughed that these people exist. Like they literally say something like, "Critics, they probably never even played Mario. It's a thing for the younger generation." I'm like, you think that game that came out in the mid '80s,
dude? I don't. It's been weird. Like I feel like a lot of the critics feel like they're in the '90s. Like one of the biggest reviews is like, it has all the joy of an unplugged Game Boy. And I'm like, don't you know the Game Boy runs on batteries, bitch? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know. I'm like, all right.
Maybe they are.
I watched the video game YouTube channels reviews of this movie, not like what the Chicago Herald thought of it. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not really relevant to my interests.
Yeah. I think this might be the first movie, even considering like video game movies, where the video game people are probably more capable of having the nuanced take. And both because like they're more likely to know about it, but also I think people who make these kind of like videos, like your podcast, are a little bit more mature and like think about things on a bigger context. And then
I feel like, I also feel like movie critic people who that's their whole job aren't probably playing new Super Mario Brothers 2 for the 3DS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they're also just going to be less familiar than like normal people are in a lot of ways, but anyway. Well, we'll get into that more.
I think maybe we do want to talk about that more. So like, why don't we pause there? We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk all about the Super Mario Bros. Movie, our experience of watching, our thoughts on it, all of that after this short break. All right, so we are back, and this week we're talking about the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Just came out this past Wednesday. All three of us have seen it, and we're gonna break it down. We're gonna do our best to give some non-spoiler overview thoughts at the beginning, and then we're gonna make a verbal intonation and also like a timestamp where we're gonna kind of get into it. And I think it's kind of hard to avoid spoilers in talking about this.
I mean, we could just kind of give like a general, like little review, right? Of kind of what we thought about it. We've all three seen it. I actually haven't talked to you about this, Patrick, because I've been waiting until we got on the show. So I have no idea if you even like this movie or not. But I'll start.
I walked out. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a 90-minute movie, Patrick. It's not that long of a time commitment. But I'll start. I adored this movie. I loved it a ton. I can't wait to go see it again. I totally understand that this movie is flawed. It's flawed in a lot of ways. I'll say it feels to me like I'm so excited that this is Nintendo. This really feels like Nintendo's first movie. You know what I mean? Like you can feel Nintendo all over this thing. Like to me, this kind of felt like more a big celebration of all things Mario. It was like this movie was like, hey guys, look, Mario's back in theaters again. And it was just like a super fun like ride from start to finish. I think I heard this described somewhere else, but the whole thing reminded me of the New Donk City Festival from Mario Odyssey. You know what I mean? It was just like this great nostalgic, like it just, I could just shoot this movie straight into my veins and I would be totally happy. I really enjoyed it a lot. I think kids, I saw this in a movie theater with a bunch of kids, and that honestly, usually I get annoyed when I'm watching a movie and there's a bunch of kids talking during the whole thing. I was having the time of my life just like listening to like kids react to this thing. You know what I mean? Like what made them excited, and then hearing like 30-year-olds in the audience being like, oh, like when like a like a musical theme plays or something, and like hearing different parts of the audience get excited about different things. I'm really happy about this movie. It feels like a very Nintendo movie in that it doesn't really feel like other movies. It's like very much has the feel of a lot of their games, even though I know it's not necessarily a great movie, quote unquote, by itself. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah. Stefan, do you want to go next? Your sort of big picture.
I think I'm a little bit more mixed than David, but when I say mixed, I think more like good and bad, not necessarily like overall it's a middle. I think it's better. It's certainly better than I feared, because I am not a fan of Illumination at all.
Yeah.
They are low common denominator animation company, and which is, I guess for children that's fine, but like, there's a certain thing where it's like, if a movie's made, there's a difference between a movie that's made for children and a family movie, and I think they've in the past have done movies made for children very much, and
very
it's
much
like,
so.
I was like, and it's weird being like Mario, like it technically is a, when you play a Mario game, it doesn't necessarily like label itself as for children necessarily, like the original up through a certain amount. Like I think late, like more recent Mario games have probably been more like strictly younger focused to some extent, at least with like new Super Mario, things like that. But all I have to say was just like, so there's no, I don't even know if this is a spoiler. This is not a spoiler, I don't think. There's no fart jokes that I can remember, like stuff like that.
Whoa, dude, save it for the spoiler section.
No, I know what you're saying.
But that was what I was dreading. Where just like Luigi will like land and then like, oh my God, Mario! I can't believe I did that.
Yes.
Too many mushrooms, I guess. And none of that happened. So I was just like, oh. I think maybe if I see it again, knowing that none of that is coming, I'll be like, okay, I don't have to be prepared for that fear.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's none of like minion butts, which they like love to do, is like show butts randomly. It's like none of that, thankfully. So, and also it's just like, having, appreciated Mario my whole life as much as a lot of people have. It's like, I think they did a pretty decent job of integrating like just the things that we love, like the music especially is really well done. I think
the music
in a
is
lot
incredible.
Of ways. Yeah. Like I do think that is also one area where I think like I wish they had just done the whole thing that way instead of like they do like mix in like 80s music and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff I was like, ugh. Like, like
there are definitely illuminationisms in here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They creep in.
It's not the worst of the worst, but it's like, there's definitely some stuff in this movie that is like, that's coming from Hollywood and not from Nintendo of Japan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was like, I guess it's interesting that Nintendo seemed to be like, I guess their decision. It's like, it's interesting that they decided now is the time for the movie to finally, like, we're going all in with this type of movie specifically, where it's like, we're going with our characters, with our themes, with our music and all that's going in, and they choose Illumination. It's like, that's an interesting choice to be like not doing it themselves, which I guess would be hard, obviously, but like, or like some other company, like, I don't know, Pixar even, I don't know, something like artsy, whatever, they go with Illumination. But I was like,
Pixar would have fought them on story.
Yeah, probably.
Disney would not have been a good fit. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways Disney, but also Disney already kind of did this with Wreck-It Ralph, so it'd be interesting to be like, there's things that Wreck-It Ralph did I think were a little better, but some things this one, as far as a vibe, I think did a lot better too. So, I don't know. I'm like right in the middle of a lot of things. It's like I definitely don't hate it as much as the worst critics. I definitely, I think I'm curious to see where it goes from here for sure, because obviously a sequel is going to be greenlit like 5 days ago, probably. Yeah.
I'm sure it's already in production. Yeah.
Well, I'll go briefly then. I'm probably somewhere between y'all then. Like I really enjoyed it. I'm also more of an Illumination fan than y'all. Maybe it's Stockholm Syndrome, but
it definitely is.
But
it definitely is.
Just today, I watched The Lorax with my son. So like I have seen a lot of Illumination movies, and I actually don't dislike them. And again, so like I don't feel
turn off camera.
I don't feel the same way as you about that, but and I think there's something for adults in a lot of them. So but I think one of the things I think that this movie really is, maybe even more than some of those, is for kids and Nintendo fans. And I think that's maybe where the disconnect with some critics is, maybe where I think more people are casual Nintendo fans than not, maybe. And if at this day and age, in in movie going audiences like in America and stuff. So I think, but critics probably not so much, right? Like,
Right.
and I think that's an interesting dynamic. But anyway, just in general, I had a lot of fun. I think it was predictable and safe, but that's not a problem. Like, right.
Yeah.
Like it's a kid's movie. I wasn't expecting, I don't know, some plot twist or so, you know what I mean? Like,
it's a Miyamoto movie, right?
Yeah,
like
and that too.
He's never been big on story, you know, like, and that really translated, right?
And you said a word, Stefan, vibe, and I think this movie really has a vibe, and I think that's nice, and it's a Mario vibe, and I think they nailed Mario in a movie, which hasn't really been done before, and it's a little weird to have Mario talk and emote in different ways than you're used to, but they did it well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was good. As about as good as a Mario movie could be, probably. I mean, could it be better? Sure.
Yeah,
but
I think it could definitely be better, and I think the sequel is going to be better as well.
Yeah,
you know, now that all of this
now that they've played it safe, yeah, like
now the next one will be directed by Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, I guess we've had this song and dance. Yeah, I'd like to talk about a couple like non-spoiler things as well. You were talking some about Patrick, some of the performances. Maybe we could talk about some of that. Like, I think the performances were all pretty stellar in this. You know, I think like the big question in the room was how is Chris Pratt going to be, right? And he was fine. He was kind of good. Even I thought he was.
You know what? I think for me is like, I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing you want, right? Like, you don't want to be, even if you like somebody, you don't want to be constantly reminded that they are the voice of a.
Yeah. You want them to disappear into a role.
And
right?
they did.
Like, for me, he definitely did. And, you know, I you know, it was still, could I think it would have been somebody else? Probably. I think somebody else could have even maybe done it better. But it was like, the characters are so emotive and they're animated so expressively that it was like, it was just all one big package. Like the animation team and the sound designers and the actors and everything all worked together really well to create Mario as a really believable and fun character that and I liked his characterization as well. And we'll get into some of that in spoilers, but I thought Chris Pratt was great. I thought Charlie Day was spot on, perfect casting for this movie. I loved him as Luigi. Jack Black, kind of a standout of the movie, right? I mean, he was incredible. I thought it was such inspired casting.
Peach was good too.
Anya Taylor-Joy was great. Yeah, I think there are like a couple voices that we could talk about in spoilers that a lot of people have sticking points about. I feel like there's one character in particular. Maybe we won't say that now. We can hold that for spoilers. But it's like, but yeah, I think overall I was really happy with the cast, especially after that like what the fuck moment of them like showing all the actors that are going to be in this and that old Nintendo Direct. You know, it was like, what the fuck are they even doing here? And it's like, oh, okay, that's what they were doing. I thought it worked really well for me.
Yeah. The other thing I real quickly non-spoiler want to share with people who haven't seen the movie and are on the fence or you know, whatever, is that you know, we talked about this was the highest grossing animated movie or whatever opening weekend. I kind of think it deserves it from an animation standpoint. This movie, the lighting and the character design, just the way it looks was kind of impressive to me. It's like gorgeous. In a way I've never seen I mean, you know, it's different animation styles are different, right? But just in terms of this 3D cartoony animation, it was kind of mind blowing. And not something that took me out of it, right? Like not an uncanny valley or problematic like that, but just every once in a while, like when they'd have a close up on just like the texture on like their hats, like you could see the fabric and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, wow, this is really well done.
And it incorporates a lot of that kind of like squash and stretch of 2D animation and stuff. Like the models are very like, you know, bouncy and movie and you know what I mean? Like they're all, it's the whole thing has a really great movement to it. Right. I was really impressed with the animation for sure.
Yeah. I definitely think that's a high point where it's just like, you know, it's nice to watch a movie that's bright the whole time, you know, even considering animation, you know, in itself, it's like, you know, and I think that's probably a big credit to Nintendo, just their designs and everything is just adapted really well to that and like not doing the opposite, which they did with the '93 movie,
Right.
which I have a soft spot for, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, I like that movie too, even though it's objectively bad. Yeah. I think before we move into spoilers, we could just talk a little bit about some of the criticisms about this movie and then why people had issues with it. I think a lot of people were. I think the plot is thin, right? We've kind of talked about that already. It's a very thin plot. It's very predictable. It feels like a Mario game while doing some of its own things, but in a way that it doesn't spend a ton of time on that. I think
to its credit, in my opinion.
I think so too. Yeah. And I think what you were saying about how this is a movie made for I feel like this movie was made for me and kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, it's
100%.
like people like me who have played every Mario game and catch up on all the references and everything. And for me, like that was a huge part of the enjoyment of the movie for me. And I can find that to be grating sometimes in movies, especially when they're trying to take themselves really seriously, when they just shove in a bunch of references to old stuff. I thought the way that this movie did it, like actually felt like it was more world building than it was like, look at this thing, remember this thing. And even if it was look at this thing, remember this thing, I loved seeing all of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It like really felt like, especially after so many movies that like try to do their own shit. You know what I mean? Like Sonic the Hedgehog, like being this weird Sonic is in the real world with human actors. Like nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted that. Everybody wanted a movie where Sonic is running around in Sonic World, right? And like we got that in this, right? And even with the music, it's like I'm so tired of movies like all the new Star Wars shows and movies that come out. They're like scared to use the old Star Wars themes. Like they all use new stuff. Maybe some of that's in like rights for the music or whatever. But it's like this was just like, no, let's put 120 Mario songs in it. You know what I mean? And it was just really mind blowing. And so I just wanted to say that about how it played and like what the kind of movie it is. And if you haven't seen it yet, hopefully that'll help you decide whether or not to see it, because it's really, really something special if you're a Nintendo fan.
To that point, I saw this movie with my son and with my cousin Vincent, who's been on the podcast once before. And he's not a huge Nintendo person, but like he has a Switch. We play Smash a lot, and he comes over and me and my son and him play video games a lot. So it was a fun thing because it would be like, my son is like, I'm not a big fan of talking at movies either, but this movie, like the three of us were like every once in a while, like my son would be like, oh, look, it's this. And then a more niche reference, and my cousin would be like, hey, look, it's the, like, I don't want to spoil things, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the things that my son might not pick up on.
Yeah, totally.
And that was fun to like,
I was sitting next to Jay Rios during this, and like we would just nudge each other constantly, like point at the screen. It was a fucking blast, dude. Yeah.
Okay, well, we should move on then to a more spoiler discussion so that we can be more open. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to go in more blind, come back.
This is your warning.
Yeah.
You got 10 seconds.
Yeah. Do you have like a video intro for spoiler territory?
No.
Rock guitar,
No, I think right now on the edit I've probably just got some like music playing, and then I think we got about 3 seconds, and I think we're good. We're spoiling the movie, everybody. That was your warning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. I don't know. Where do we want to start? Like, there's a lot now that we can be more open.
I almost maybe we literally could just go in order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Unless that's too labor inducive.
No,
could be a 4-hour podcast.
Hey, why don't we start that way? Yeah.
Yeah. You start us off, Stefan. What do you want to talk about first?
Yeah. I think I'll touch on things I liked, and then like as far as like an example of like things that bothered me a little bit was like I talked about with the music, with the 80s music. I think a great example of like oh, it's there. It's if only they just like committed, it would have been like 10 times better. It was like apparently, I don't know if you saw this, when they go to the Donkey Kong, the Kong place, and they get on the cart. Apparently, the music that was supposed to play there was an orchestrated version of the Donkey Kong Country theme.
Yeah,
and it was just like, oh, you mean you had that? I listened to it; it sounded amazing. But instead, they went with "Take on Me."
Yeah,
and so it's just like
very fucking stupid.
I think I know. So I think it's almost like, oh, like the more I think about it, it's like, oh, everything I liked about this movie is already there. They should have just like cranked it
into it.
Yeah, just leaned it all the way, and they would have been like.
There must have been that internal debate between the thing we're talking about, which is this movie is for kids and for hardcore fans, and then somebody being like, but we need to have this accessible to people who aren't, so take on me in this instead, and that one, and they're like, all right, we'll put it there for you.
What's the most rote shit ever? It's like Take On Me, Mr. Blue Sky, like I
Need a Hero.
I Need a Hero. Like, let's not. Shrek 2 should have retired I Need a Hero. They did it perfectly. You know what I mean? It's like, also, we were talking about this afterwards, but literally every fucking movie uses Bonnie Tyler's I Need a Hero. Okay, like,
if
like
there's
let's
a
stop
hero
doing that.
Element, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's got to be the cheapest song to license in all of Hollywood because it's in every fucking movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't need any more money. They're like, sure, you can have it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
what are you
fucking
gonna offer?
used
We'll
it
take
in.
it. Yeah.
We used it in the trailer for Masters of the Universe. It's like can't be that expensive to license, right? But it was like, man, it was just like, come on, like this is your opportunity to use like the Shins or something. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they should have got 90s. Like,
But it was just like, it's the same licensed music you hear in every other movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem with there being licensed music in this movie. I think that's fine. I think there was in the 90s movie as well, and I think that's fine. I think it's cool when movies do that. But it was just, they bummed me out. Yes, like especially that like amazing like Donkey Kong medley that was cut for this purpose. Or even like at the beginning, like it was really funny when they used the Kill Bill music, like when the penguins are like throwing snowballs at Bowser, like at the very opening of the movie. Like that was funny, but that felt to me like they put that there as a temp track and then just never replaced it. You know what I mean? And it was like, okay, like that. I don't see the need for that necessarily. It kind of took me out of it.
That would have been like a perfect moment to introduce some sort of theme, like like that everyone recognized. It's also weird to have that logic in a movie about something that has been iconic since the 80s. So it's like, you're using 80s music. That's usually like something you do for like something that you set in the 80s, but like it isn't necessarily like a TV show from the 80s or something. Like this is literally all of this started in the 80s. So it's like you already have that. This is already retro to that. So it's like so strange to feel like this fear to be like, oh, we can't. And I think Patrick said it was like perfect. It's like it needs to be accessible to people. But it's like, why is it's so weird that like Take On Me is accessible?
That's what's gonna bring in the casual like non-Nintendo fans.
Kids don't know what that song is. You know, no. I mean, they're discovering it for the first time. Maybe they put these songs in there so that kids want to be like, hey, play this song, and the parents are like, what? You like that song? I love that song. And then like afterwards, they just like listen to a bunch of ELO with their kids or something. Like but, I don't know.
Oh, if they had played, it should have just been ELO.
Yeah, I was going to say ELO would be great.
They did have one.
I won't complain when I hear Mr. Blue Sky in a movie, but I do roll my eyes a little bit. Again, like I feel like Eternal Sunshine like knocked that out of the park, and we didn't need any past that, right?
We need some deep cuts,
Yeah,
it's like all Sparks music, everyone's into Sparks now.
Should have gotten Sparks to just score the damn.
Mario.
Can we talk about the Easter eggs for a minute? Because they're I think they did it pretty well, and I know I know that was some criticism from some of the critics and maybe some other people. It was just that like it's too many Easter eggs. But what I thought they did well with the Easter eggs is that they felt like they were packed into the first 20 minutes or so. Or maybe it was more than that or less than that. I can't remember.
Oh, it was constant, bro. It was like the whole fucking movie had him, dude.
That's true. But I felt like once we got to the Mushroom Kingdom, it wasn't the same. Like it wasn't.
You're talking about the stuff that's like on the walls.
Yes, I'm talking about. That's where I was like nudging, and my cousin and I were nudging each other. We're like, there's an F-Zero poster on Mario's wall. There's a Duck Hunt reference in the restaurant. There's a Punch-Out pictures. There's all the other non-Mario references.
He's literally playing an NES, playing Kid Icarus.
Yeah, it's
like
Kid Icarus,
Mario.
Right?
Yeah. Which begs a pretty serious question.
What was the launch game for the NES?
Yeah, was the NES like an underground system because it didn't launch with Mario, and like Mario is just kind of got this cool collector's item, like, you know what I mean? Like, but they kind of even had that, right? Because like the cabinet, instead of being Donkey Kong, was Jumpman, right? And so maybe like the Mario franchise just turned into Jumpman, like in the Mario universe. But
now this is like,
does that mean Shigeru Miyamoto? Yeah, is like Shigeru Miyamoto like in this universe? Like,
I 100% was expecting like at the end of the movie for like Shigeru Miyamoto to walk in and be like, "You're the person I've been looking for to be the star of my game that's going to be launched with every new console."
He's like, he's like Stan Lee. He's in all the Nintendo movies now.
I'm into that. Yeah. Apparently they were going to do that in the 1993 version. Did you read about that? Yeah, apparently a cut scene that they were going to shoot, but they never ended up doing, was it would like explain why the movie was so different from the games. Is that like some Japanese game developers would like be reading about what happened in the news, like of like in that 93 movie. And they're like, we want to turn that into a video game. And it's like how they like fucking there and back again, Bilbo Baggins. We kind of talked about that after the movie, but yeah.
Anyway, like, so the Easter eggs, like I meant more the non-Mario references that were happening early on. And I think that's why, like, once it's a Mario reference, I think that's a little more, that felt more fair game to me. And it's not like it wasn't fair game to do other Nintendo references. It's fun. But if it had been happening the whole time, I might have gotten exhausted. And that's what I liked about it, I guess, is that then we then we settled into Mario. Feel too bad.
Yeah.
I think it would have been, my worry about where they go with this is like people have already been like, doing like their fan like Nintendo announcing their universe where it's like Metroid is in the fall, Zelda's in the spring, and I'm just like, okay, Illumination, you can do Mario, but do we really want Illumination doing Metroid?
No.
What are we doing? We gotta like, I think honestly it should be like, we want this to be a Nintendo universe. It should just be a Mario universe, honestly. Just keep it Mario.
I disagree with that, but maybe let's hold that for the end. I've got some thoughts on that. Yeah.
Because I think sequel and future of this we should talk about at the end for sure. But
I do think that Illumination should stick with Mario, and but we'll get to that at the end. But
that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Illumination stick with Mario, like
for sure. I did really like, if we're kind of talking like earlier movie stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about the early stuff.
I really liked how they justified them not using their classic voices.
I thought it was pretty good.
I thought that was great. I thought that was kind of brilliant, actually. Like how it's like they put on the like, it's a me, haha, like those voices like for the commercial for their plumbing company, right? And then the the commercial ends. And then they have the regular voice. I'm like, what do you think? That's a little bit too much. Like, and they're like, and then that was the first Charles Martinet
Giuseppe
cameo.
The character's named.
What's that now?
Apparently, that character's named Giuseppe. I just read that online somewhere.
Yeah, but yeah, he's like, no, that's a perfect voice, or whatever. It was like, I actually kind of got like weirdly emotional, like seeing like Charles Martinet in there, like right off the bat, and then like kind of addressing that right at the very beginning. I was like, I knew we were in for a good time at that point, right? Like it felt like very respectful to him as an actor, and they had Charles Martinet play Mario's dad.
Yeah, and I really want to talk about the family if we're. Maybe that's jumping ahead, but
yeah, sure.
Well, maybe we should talk about
all
the beginning.
I'll say about that.
Yeah,
having Charles Martinet play Mario's dad reminded me of casting the original Ellie actress from The Last of Us to play Ellie's mom in the show.
Oh yeah,
you know, it was like it was same vibes. You know.
Yeah, well, maybe we should talk about the beginning part of the movie where, like, you know, Spike is in there. It's obviously a Wrecking Crew reference, and Sebastian. Maybe y'all saw the draft house, so you didn't see the same like previews I did, but like there was a Sebastian Maniscalco preview movie at the beginning of this, so I was like, he was very much on my mind, like very Italian kind of movie that he's making. Anyway, so that was cool. I thought his character was a nice sort of foil to point out, like
he was kind of hot too. It's like a big hunky hot guy with like a cute little beard and like a gold chain. I was like, damn, I didn't have to go so hard on Foreman Spike.
And also he orders the whole pizza, he eats like one slice, and then just
I was kind of upset about that too.
And then he just walks away from the rest of it. I was just like, what are you doing?
Take that with you. Anyway,
Did they have to-go boxes in the 80s? I don't know.
Well, it's in the current day. I mean, like they've got iPhones and shit. Like,
oh yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's one thing. It's like they're like, we're not going to define this too hard.
Yeah,
it's kind of both and all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little anachronistic. I like that Luigi's ringtone is the GameCube opening sound. That really made me crack up. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about the family. Or is there something before that?
No, go for it.
I think the family stuff was just fascinating. Like as soon as they went into showing Mario's, not just Mario's parents, which maybe we'd expect, but maybe not even, like,
I didn't expect that.
I didn't expect it, but to the extent that we're seeing this whole family of grandparents and like uncles or cousins and you know what I mean? Like, and they just looked great. Like it also just made me be like, man, I want to see more Mario's family in games and stuff, right?
Well, I think with the like the post-credits tease at the end, like the Yoshi egg is like in Brooklyn, right? Like it's in that like pipe central or whatever that they fall into whenever they're trying to fix that one problem. So I think that's kind of a bit of a signal that for the next movie we'll be again spending at least a little bit of time in Brooklyn as well. So I hope we see more of the family for sure. But
also you hinted at this, David, like, right. Like Mario's dad was voiced by Charles Martin as well, which is nice. And
his design looked exactly like Marin from
Talon.
Talon.
Yeah,
Talon from Ocarina of Time, which was based on Mario. So that was a cool Easter egg.
Yeah, and apparently in a interview with Polygon, I think with the interview with the like directors of the movie, they said that the parents and the family were all based on stuff that Nintendo had. Like Nintendo had designs for these, for some at least, of Mario's extended family or parents and stuff. And that's kind of interesting because what is the only time we've ever seen Mario's parents in a game is silhouettes in
like Yoshi's Island
in the end of Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Yeah. So
I think that's a good example of like things I really did like. It's like, you have all this history of just really cool creative designs that, it's just like, just tap in. You're like, if anyone considers that too much reference, like, I don't know. I feel like just do as much as possible, really. So I think with the family, I think that is a good example of like things that like I liked and also wanted more of, where it's like, oh, that family, that idea of like this Italian family living together. It's like, I just want more of that, more personality, more like I want to know about each of the brothers and the mother and all that. And just like, I think that would have been nice to have a little bit more, but like, I think that's that happens through a lot of it, where it's just like, those character moments are like the gold that you want as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think you made this comment earlier, Stefan, which is like, what age is Mario and Luigi? And thankfully, I didn't think about that at the time, but now that you've put it in my head, it's kind of bothering me.
I think it's canonically 25.
Really? And that feels about right. But that feels about right. Like too old to be living with the parents, but living with the parents.
Yeah. And he's still kind of figuring himself out. Like he gets bullied a lot because he's like really small. I really liked that. They have like this kind of up and coming business that they're trying to get off the ground and it's not really working. You know what I mean? Also the whole Brooklyn section, which I really liked all the Brooklyn stuff. I thought it was really well done, but I think that also set up the great running joke of Mario hating mushrooms, which is a really nice touch, just because we all know he eats mushrooms fucking constantly in the games. And so he's just like another thing he has to kind of like grow up and like learn how to do. Right. So I loved all that.
Yeah. I just loved that. I think it's just kind of a fleshing out of Mario that we've never had in the games in a lot of ways. Right. Like Mario's kind of a silent protagonist, except for he says wahoo. And to like, and he was kind of silent in the movie too, right? Like, I mean, he talks, but I felt like they did a good job of balancing that. That like he has agency and can talk, but he also was kind of more action based and things were happening rather than a lot of discussion or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, my biggest complaint about the movie, and we're jumping all over here. So
we'll jump.
But Yeah. This spoiler section is a cacophonous, chaotic mess. I felt like this movie could have been easily 10 minutes longer, right? I think like what I would have liked was 10 minutes more of either just characters doing bits, you know what I mean? Just like, like in that section where they're like going through all the different kingdoms or whatever, like making their way to the Donkey Kong land, like that, I think could have used a scene where it's just Toad and Mario just shooting the shit and getting to know each other. You know what I mean? And I think the thing that this movie really needed was like a punch-up pass. You know what I mean? I felt like there was a lot of moments in this movie that were very funny, but there were a lot of moments in this movie also where they were clearly setting up for a joke, and then there was just never a joke. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that they're trying to make, I think all Illumination movies are kind of like this, where they like try to make them as easily localizable as possible for all different kinds of audiences. So you can't really have anything too specific there. Otherwise it's going to get lost in translation. But I mean, for me, it's like, get like the Rescue Rangers guys, get like, Kiva and the Lonely Island guys to like punch this up a little bit. Like, I think it could have used that, or it could have used 10 more minutes of like music and songs. I think this movie would have worked well with like a couple other musical numbers as well.
I think this is where, again, this movie is for kids comes in. And I think kids movies are 90 minutes. Like kind of a hard stop. Like there are very few.
Not Puss in Boots 2, baby.
No. How long was that?
It's like an hour 45. It's like how long I wanted this movie to be.
Right. Like, and to the extent that they're like short amount over that. Yeah. And maybe I kind of agree that like it felt a little rushed. Like the beginning didn't feel rushed, but then once we got to the action of being in the Mushroom Kingdom, it's like we're on an adventure. We're going to Donkey Kong Country, we're leaving Donkey Kong Country, the fight is happening, and that did feel rushed, and I kind of would have sacrificed that whole dog Francis scene to make up for it.
That's the other big Illumination moment in this movie.
I didn't mind that scene. I actually enjoyed it.
I was getting a little nervous. I was like, oh, this is like, that's literally like their Secret Life of Pets design just creeping its way in.
Yeah.
Again, maybe the most Illumination friendly person here. I didn't mind that scene, but I would have sacrificed that scene to have what you're talking about, which is maybe a little more breathing room for later.
Yeah.
Like, I think we could have had a failed call without that, or you know what I mean? Like, that's what we need.
That was an evil dog. That was. That dog was pretty evil.
But I did. If we're gonna have to, if we have the dog and it happens, it was a nice moment at the very end when the dog comes back and Luigi and the dog
they
share a
nod.
It's like we might not be friends, but I appreciate what you do.
Yeah. But that was also an example of like, it's like, is there no like Mario dog reference you could just put here? Like I'd almost just
there
like
are
like, there's got to be a couple dogs.
It probably would have been better if they set it up with a cat to like pay off the cat suit that Mario has to wear later,
and that might have just worked better. Like a cat's more cranky than you know what I mean.
But I mean, breaking the bone and the dog being like, it was funny for sure, but it was like like, okay, this could be any kids movie at this point. It's not necessarily Mario, right? Which is fine. I mean, it's okay to have moments like that. I liked the opening, but
dogs are easy to localize.
Everybody loves dogs, no matter where you're from. Pauline got a little reference as well as the mayor of Brooklyn, or the mayor of, I guess, New York City.
I don't know
in
how
general. So good for Pauline. That's great. It's a step up from New Donk. And so that was cool to see that. That was kind of like the inciting incident was like a big, sewer main or something busted and was spilling water everywhere, and the Mario Brothers had to go figure it out. That's kind of like what brought them to the Mushroom Kingdom, I guess.
I have a question. So when they go down into the sewer during that moment and they go into that sort of weird old area, is that a reference to something? I mean, I saw that there was a level 2-1 sign and they played the underground music. But
reminded me of the original Mario Brothers arcade game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just pipes and it's like underground and they're really like plumbers. You know what I mean? It kind of reminded me a bit of that.
Or like the old movie. I don't know. Like I just couldn't figure out what that was. Because it wasn't long, but it was long enough to be like, is there something here I'm missing? I felt like I said, I think we'll be going back to the post credits and
ends there, right?
Mm.
But you're right. It did. A lot of this movie reminded me of the 93 movie. You know, I think.
I almost wondered if that was just like we'll pay a little cheeky homage.
I thought
to
that might be
movie.
that moment, but I wasn't sure. Like, what if that was just me feeling that.
Also, I think they play that Mario Brothers like Super Mario 3 bonus level music. It's like dun 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 dun. I think they play that.
Or no, that's Dr. Mario. Yeah, there was some Dr. Mario music in there too. Yeah. Yeah.
Great game, great music.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you know, we talked about this, but like obviously the story was light, and what do you expect? I think that was about what I expected, right? Like a flimsy story. Bowser's trying to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. That's great. That's kind of what I want. And it was
but it's a lot more than that, right? It's like Bowser's motivations aren't just taking over the Mushroom Kingdom. He wants to marry Peach.
Yeah,
like he is like
Odyssey vibes there.
Yeah, it's like they really leaned into like maybe let's talk about Jack Black as Bowser, right? Like if we're talking about motivations. It's like they really I've got back here if you're watching the video version behind me, I've got the Nintendo Power like Mario comic that they it was like a Mario manga basically that they made. It's not really a manga because it was issue by issue in Nintendo Power, but it's like in that they really play up Bowser wanting to marry Peach. Like it's like he's got this kind of like dream of it, and he even like goes to the Mushroom Kingdom and sings her a little song. Like in that comic, he's got like a whole little song he sings, which was like that peaches song that Jack Black does. Like it really reminded me of that original comic, and I really like that as motivation for Bowser. They kind of like almost played him like a weird incel. Like I think he like said at one point later in the movie, like, I've never been happy before, and now you're gonna feel what I always felt. You know what I mean? It was like very like kind of a weird vibe to take with it, but I thought it gave him more motivation than just like wanting to rule everything, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
To comment on that, I think it's kind of what you feel in the games, right? Like it's not, it's sort of a paper thin, like he likes Peach, but doesn't know how to express it. So he captures her and is mean to her, right? Like, sorry, Stefan, what did you want to say?
Oh, I just want to say something I noticed is like that Peaches song that's now like has like 2 music videos already. Which is like, I was like, this song sounds so familiar. And I was like, and then it dawned on me, it has the exact same melody as Little Red Corvette by Prince. It's so wild. I was just like, I played them together. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if like, did they literally just have Jack Black like at a piano, like, okay, make something up? It almost felt like that. So like he probably just had that melody in his head. And it was like,
it felt really improvised. And I think Jack Black even got a songwriting credit on it. You know, I think they just like had him sit down. They're like, hey, we want to have you do a little musical thing. Right.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, I wanted more of that. Like I thought it was great. I think it didn't just have to be Bowser. I thought like there could have been a couple songs in this, right? Like, I think it would have worked just fine. You know, there were rumors beforehand that this was going to be a musical. And I'm like, I think this would have worked as like, kind of like one of those 90s Disney musicals where it's like not a ton of music, but there's like 3 or 4 or 5 like minute and a half long songs. Like I thought that actually would have worked pretty well in this. And I kind of low key hope they do that going forward in whatever the sequel to this is.
Those are the example of the moments you'd want to have with like all the characters getting some sort of equivalent. It doesn't all have to be a song, just something that like highlights like what makes them unique, what makes them like exist in this world, you know. That's
like Mario's Lament or something, you know. Like you know, maybe it's just because I watched Jesus Christ Superstar yesterday.
I love that. I love Jesus Christ.
This episode is headed to be a little longer than some of our recent ones, and that's fine. But I don't want to forget a couple of things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Kamek, and I want to talk about Peach, because I think those characters stood out in this movie. Like they just did a great job with Kamek. You know, like obviously, I think for obvious reasons they didn't want to have Bowser Jr. That would have added a lot of weird questions and like,
you're gonna have a stepmom.
Yeah, well, maybe it would have worked. Maybe it would have worked. But Kamek, the role playing scene, where Kamek is pretending to be Peach, was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Just I think
super funny. The voice acting was amazing on it too. And I mean, you could tell he's one of the few like actors in this cast who is like a seasoned fucking voice actor. The guy who plays Kamek. I'm forgetting his name right now, unfortunately. He's in Masters of the Universe, but he was excellent in the movie. I thought like his vocalization of him was really, really good. And like, yeah, I really liked him a lot.
But Peach, we gotta talk about Peach. Like, I think the choice to make Luigi the damsel in distress, or whatever you want to call it, the thing that needs to be rescued, was great for obviously sexist reasons and stuff like that. Like, or you know, like, and also a mix up on traditional Mario stuff. But I really liked Peach. Was just kind of badass in a way that worked for me. Like, I also left this movie feeling like, where's our Peach game? Now, like,
I want a Super Princess Peach too, dude. So bad. It's such a cool game for the DS.
Where she's a badass now too.
I mean, she's a badass in a lot of the Mario games, you know. I mean, you can play as her in all these modern games, and Mario Brothers too. You know, she was like the best character to play as in that game.
I want a platformer designed around her float mechanic.
Yes,
but anyway, that's a totally different conversation. Well, but go ahead.
No, I mean, let's talk about that, because I think it's like, I was, you know, the girl boss trope is a real thing in Hollywood, right? And it's like, you know, some of that probably maybe felt like that came from Illumination or from like Hollywood execs, you know, but I thought they did it well, and it like did not feel like a girl boss trope to me. You know, like Peach to me, like she felt more like a Miyagi trope or something like that. You know, I liked her as kind of this like sensei kind of character, right? Like the one who was kind of like training Mario and doing stuff like that. Like I thought that was a really interesting, it's a way more interesting dynamic than just she gets stolen by Bowser and you have to go get her. And then when she does get taken by Bowser, it's of her own accord. You know what I mean? He's like, you can come with me now, or I'm going to murder all these people. And she's like, well, for the good of my people, I'm going to go with you, you know, and like, and go and like marry you and all this stuff. Right. And so I thought they just treated her really well. And I thought Anya Taylor-Joy also did a pretty fucking good job in this role. And I thought, like, you know, this wonderful moment where we learn a bit about her backstory too, about how she's not from the Mushroom Kingdom. And that's still a little bit, we don't really know what that's about. I'm sure they're going to delve more into that in the sequel as well. But, you know, and we got to see baby Peach and baby Luigi and baby Mario. Those were references I did not think we'd see in this movie. But yeah, I was really impressed with that. And I thought her performance was actually pretty touching at points.
Yeah,
I did find it funny where she was telling her backstory, and she's like, "I just appeared. That my first memory is coming here, and soon they made me their princess." Anyway, it's just like, I guess sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah,
you know?
I think
she's kind of a colonizer. Yeah, I mean, let's get real. Yeah.
But I think stuff like that was like, it's like the Spider-Man thing, right? Like we know, or at least the people that are here to see this movie know this, right? Like that this needs to be glossed over or whatever. And like, It's like, we don't need to see Spider-Man's origin again, right? That's why they don't do it anymore. In new Spider-Man movies, we don't need to see. That's what I was kind of thinking about when you're talking about them skipping. I think you said this, and that's maybe why critics didn't like it, or they're confused or something, you know, like, anyway, I'm rambling.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. I think one part that was a little weak was the first time Mario and Peach meet, where it's like, I thought it was funny, like the whole like hello, and she pushes him down. That was funny. But like literally, you're like a minute later, they're like, all right, let's go. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Like, I think it would have been funny if they'd like cut to like throwing him in a dungeon or something.
Yeah.
Whoa, that escalated quickly. Like,
they could have done the whole like trial scene from Super Mario Sunshine, right? Like where he's like thrown in prison, and then they like are like, and then he kind of bargains to get out or whatever. I thought that probably would have been a good way to actually get him on her side rather than her just like trusting him outright, right? I think she just like thought he was cute, you know, and I think she was just happy to see another human. I mean, she's surrounded by little mushroom people all the time, right? Like, I mean, not that there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a mushroom person listening to this, I apologize, but it's like, you know, I there was definitely a bit of like, oh my God, another human, like this is crazy. And so I feel like that was like all the motivation they really needed.
But there was a couple of things, and I agree with you, Stefan, that like felt rushed, and that, and I think as cool as the Rainbow Road thing was, that felt kind of like I loved it, but it also felt like we didn't get to, I don't know, it just felt like we went from they're going to attack to like it's over already, like and that's where I think the 90 minutes thing and or just story not being as important as characters. It's fine. I don't know. We haven't talked about Donkey Kong. We got to talk about that too. And the Kongs.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get y'all's opinion on Cranky Kong before we get into Donkey Kong, because a lot of people really didn't like Fred Armisen's Cranky Kong. Like, I get it. He didn't really sound cranky and he didn't really sound old. But to me, it was almost like he was doing like an old Jewish grandfather trope. You know what I mean? Like it felt like he was like, I don't know, he was like Jewish coded for some reason to me. And I was like, that's kind of like an interesting take on it. So it didn't bother me as much. But I've heard a lot of people like really put off by his characterization. What did you guys think about that?
Yeah, I was a little, like I've liked Fred Armisen in a lot of things, but I've seen him do that exact voice a couple times, and it's almost always like somebody who like doesn't quite get what they're doing. It's like, oh, I don't really understand it, but okay, whatever. I went to the store and I got an apple. It's like it's that, and I felt like it wasn't the worst, but it was definitely like I've seen this before. And then also it like for some reason his character seemed to have like. Speaking of punch up pass, there was no punch up on his lines at all. Like there's literally one time where they're like whispering and he just goes, "Oh, y'all whispering, that's rude." Like, is that the joke?
Yeah, that was weird.
It was like, I don't know. It was kind of rough in my opinion.
I don't think we can blame Fred Armisen as much as maybe the writing on his character, because I do think Cranky Kong almost felt unnecessary. Like you said, like it wasn't used to effect. It wasn't that funny, and I don't think that was Fred Armisen's fault. But I kind of agree too that like, I mean, maybe that's just like this is the best I could do with this. I like Fred Armisen a lot, actually.
Well, it's like I mean, they had the moment where they were like eaten by the eel, which was completely pointless. Like Donkey Kong and Mario, and they were in the eel for like 45 seconds, and then
I know.
Got out, it was like just to be like, your dad is a blah blah. Well, your dad is blah blah blah, and it was like, okay, so this is what it was for. This like 45-second scene.
That's what. That's what. Like I think they wanted like Mario and Donkey Kong to not get along and then bond over something, and they wanted this father issue thing, which we haven't really super addressed yet in our discussion. But obviously, like Mario has father issues, and then that to be the thing that brings them together, I guess. And some of that just felt a little weird.
Yeah.
I honestly kind of thought that was a funny joke where he's like, "Oh, your father doesn't like your father's anywhere. Well, too bad." Like it's like we're not going. It's like I think that would have been a great moment if they were like, they get swallowed by the creature or whatever. That would have been another great moment to be like, just throw a bunch of random references. This whale is swallowed like a ship from a game or a level or something. Like just having that just to be solely like they need to get along in 45 seconds. It's and all that happens is they see the rocket and we're like, oh, okay.
I did like Donkey Kong Country though. I liked that whole section. I thought it was a little weird that I liked the characterization of the Kongs. Like I liked how they meet this like Kong in the like white like sports coat, and he's like driving around and he like basically kills a guy. Like he like throws a banana back and the dude like explodes. It's just like holy shit, all right, I guess they just kill each other here and it just happens.
It's like a little weird. There was a guy in a business suit too.
Yeah, he's like a coke dealer like Kong that picked them up. Like it was very weird. But I liked it, and I kind of liked that they were the ones that had all the carts. I wish they explained that a little bit better, and I think there's a very easy way they could have done that, and they just didn't do it. And that was having Funky Kong be a character, right? Because Funky Kong in the Donkey Kong universe is the guy who makes all the vehicles. He makes he's like got the tune-up shop. So if like Funky Kong had like run the Mario Kart thing, and that was like why they're all obsessed with like carts and cars and vehicles and stuff, I think that would have like justified it a little bit more for me. But otherwise, it was really just a reason for them to then get the carts to do a whole Mario Kart scene, right?
The whole Kong thing was a little, again, rushed and weird, but fun.
It was there just to give them Smash and Mario Kart references. You know what I mean? It was like, let's have them do like a Smash fight, and let's have them do a Mario Kart race, and we'll have them do it here instead of the Mushroom Kingdom, But
I almost feel like I was going to say this earlier. It's like I almost feel like this movie is like almost more a Mario Kart movie in a way, where it's like I think that's where like a lot of people played Mario, but a lot of people have played Mario Kart.
Yep.
So it's like they just associate a lot of that. So it makes sense that like that would be like such a big point, and which I thought I liked. I kind of wish it was like, as you said earlier, it's like, oh, once the Rainbow Road breaks, they're kind of done with that part of it. It's like Kart should have been like from that moment on to like the end. Like, let's just have karts everywhere.
Just Mad Max it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I like that stuff though. I think maybe we could quickly talk about like some stuff before we get into the ending. But I think like I really liked how they used power-ups in this movie. Like I kind of didn't I don't know why, but I didn't even really think about power-ups that much, like in the lead up to this movie and how it would play into the plot. But it's like for instance, like I didn't think they would do a thing where Mario would eat a mushroom and get twice as tall. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't even think that would be a part of it. I don't know why, but it makes sense, obviously, why they did it. But it's like he eats the mushrooms and then grows to like Peach's height. And it was like, oh, fuck. That's kind of fucking cool, and like the mini mushroom and stuff like that, how they get like really small, like from New Super Mario Brothers,
it's
like
kind of a deep cut mushroom that's featured so heavily.
It's like a big part of the ending, like how they capture Bowser, right? And like, so I loved that. I loved like when Peach gets the ice flower, that shit was really fucking cool. The cat suit was amazing to see in action. Like all of the moves are in like the dive that the cat does and everything. It's like I think what I love about this movie so much is that they just treat it so respectfully. It's like they actually take the source material and just adapt it. It's like, who knew that they did it?
Y'all
Last of Us
shit
did it
on Illumination, but the Lorax and some of the like the Grinch and the Illumination movies they adapt are good. I think
I've heard the Seuss Illumination movies are good. I haven't seen any of those.
Seuss.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. But I really liked that. I liked them leading into the wedding as well with Peach and Bowser's wearing his tux from Mario Odyssey and all that shit. Like I don't know, all that stuff was just working really, really well for me.
I thought the power-ups was actually a good thing because that's one aspect that I didn't feel the need to be like, explain this a little more, please. I was just like, I was like, that's a good one where you could just be like, oh, in this world, do you like, and also he hates mushrooms, so he has to keep eating them. Like that's a great thing to just like keep doing it. Like, I was almost thinking that like the blue mushroom was going to be like the evil mushroom from like the original Super Mario 2.
Just kill him.
He's just dead. Like, oh, did I accidentally put that there? My bad.
Yeah. No, I liked all that stuff.
I don't want to rush us, but we are going a little long, so I do want to like move towards the ending or make sure we hit anything else. I mean, the Luma is a big thing maybe to talk about. I love the Luma.
I liked the Luma at first, but I thought the Luma definitely overstayed its welcome and was really dark for a kid's movie.
Very dark.
He just like was suicidal. Yeah.
I think that's like that sums up like my feelings where it's like, oh, that's one of my favorite parts. If only I didn't do like the dumb kid voice for it, like, which I guess is kind of part of the point.
I kind of like that, but yeah.
But it's just like,
yeah, exactly.
I wish there had been more things hanging in or maybe there were and I didn't notice more references in the dungeon
and like the Mario RPG like hanging cages.
yeah. Paper Mario's in there randomly.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. He's like, there's a paper version of me. Where did you guys just make this?
Speaking of that real quick, it's kind of going back, but it's like Bowser being like, oh, she's with this Mario, huh? Does she think Mario is cool? I felt like that was something.
He's like jealous.
When he's like that Peach thinks is cool. You're not cool at all. I like that.
Maybe real quick before we get to the ending, I do want to quickly touch on Luigi because you said you liked Luigi as the damsel in distress trope for this, and I agree. I think that's good. I just wish there was more of him in the movie, and I wish that towards the end of the movie, him and Mario were teaming up more and had more scenes together. You know what I mean? Because it kind of felt like he found him, and they were like, okay. And that was kind of it. You know what I mean? I thought like Luigi was a really good character, so I really hope in the next movie we get more of that. I thought it was cool that we played with the kind of Luigi's Mansion, like horror vibes, right? And I hope we get expansions on that as well. But yeah, I did want to give that some lip service before we got to the ending. But something I definitely wanted to bring up, unless you guys have anything to say about Luigi, is
I was just saying I wish you had his jump.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. Yeah. One more thing. You know what this movie really needed? One more reference. But I had this thought when so Bowser fires a giant bullet bill. It's basically a bonsai bill that he like shoots, right? And it's like shooting right at it. And it's going to destroy everything, right? And then Mario like uses the Tanuki suit to like flick it out of the way, and it starts going towards the pipe. And at this point in the movie, I turned to Bloom, who was sitting next to me, and I go, is Mario about to do 9/11? Like, 'cause it's like heading right for the fucking pipe. And I thought it was going to go in and just like destroy a big part of New York. And then like it kind of did, because it blew up the pipe and then it sucked in Bowser's giant thing. And then Bowser's giant like floating island just like leveled like 20 blocks of Brooklyn. Like all those people are dead. Like I was like, holy shit, dude. That kind of like really distressed me a little bit. Was anybody else like, am I a little too morose?
No, it was weird. I think after the movie, my son and I talked about that. He's like, why did it go through? And, or why did everything get sucked? I'm like, that was definitely one of those movie moments where you have to just let go, because let's not overanalyze that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, like one thing that is kind of related to that, where it's like, if you want to think about it, it's like technically the bullet goes to like that beyond realm where there's a lot of places and it explodes that. But it's still, it felt like, did you like, there's nowhere else this bullet could have gone other than the realm between realms.
Yeah.
Like that, I got to take it there. Oh, great idea. You're like, no. So it is kind of like a weird decision to just like make on the fly. Like, I almost wish you would have been like, oh crap, I didn't think that would have happened. Or something. But then again, that'd probably be like the kind of humor I wouldn't want to see in this movie, where it's like, well, that happened.
I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Yep, that's me.
I did like that. I liked that it ended in Brooklyn and kind of like took us back there. Gave their parents a reason to be like proud of the kids and everything like that. Like, I thought that was fine. But yeah, it's definitely kind of a strange ending that did also feel a little bit rushed, like so much of the movie. But to me, I mean, it was working for me, man. I was really happy with the whole way that this movie ended.
The whole star thing, where it's just like, at some point I was just like, Bowser, come on, bro. You gotta use it at some point. Yeah. It's like the fact that he was able to just like, hey, my star's right here. Well, anyway,
that's true. The ending did feel a lot like the ending to Sonic 2. Like when Tails and like Knuckles like all go and fight Robotnik at the same time with the supersonic ability. It was like, okay, this is kind of just a rehash of that.
There's a bit of an Avengers vibe too, right? Of this fight in New York and like a thing getting thrown into another dimension and stuff.
Yeah, you're totally right.
But we did get to see Luigi be kind of a badass there at the end, and then we did get to see go back to the Mushroom Kingdom and see both Mario and Luigi kind of being badasses of jumping around and doing their thing.
Yeah. Badasses of jumping around.
That's what they are.
That's the subtitle to this movie. Oh Lord.
I think the ending is fine. Okay. It is weird that everybody's like, their reaction is thanks for saving us and not what the hell just happened.
Is that thing?
Why is my elementary school totally leveled right now? It was during recess. Oh Lord. I could talk about fucking Easter eggs and shit in this movie forever. We really are kind of running out of time, but what do you think about like the sequel, and what do you think about like Nintendo Pictures now? Right? Like this is a Nintendo movie. It really felt like a fucking Nintendo movie. You know, it had that whole opening, the title card and everything, the 8-bit characters and stuff. And what do we think is next? I mean, obviously there's going to be a sequel. We know Yoshi's going to feature heavily. What are some things we want from a sequel? And then what do we want out of like Nintendo movies in general going forward?
I think for me, I don't even know what this would look like, but I would hope that like the geniuses at Nintendo who create like great games, would have like, even though I was saying like, I would like, like might as well just go reference heavy on this. It's like, I would love to see them like come up with ideas on their end, be like based on like our design and stuff, and like find ways to integrate that into whatever, Illumination directors are thinking too. So it would be nice to be like, oh, this is like a new Nintendo like property in some ways, not like
a reboot almost of like
or even like it'd be cool.
You mean like or something that.
Well, I mean, I would think it would still be Mario, but it'd be like like it's almost like a new Mario game, but it's a new Mario movie in a way. It would be nice to be like I would at least want to see what that would look like. It'd be like. And like it's references can be great at first, but at some point be like, what, I would love like make something that's like only from this part of it, only from the movie version,
Right. I mean, now that we have like the characters set up and we basically have their origin story, it's like, what can we do with the characters to make them interesting and not feel stale? Right. I think like, I think we've got a lot of opportunity to learn a lot about some of these people. I think, obviously we've got the whole universe full of galaxies that was referenced in it, right? So there's like a million different ways you could do that. I mean, you could even fucking start roping in Kirby and fucking Star Fox and shit if we're talking about the galaxy, right? You know what I mean? Like the Marvel or the Nintendo Cosmic Universe, right? But I think, which has always been my dream, but it's like, I feel like we've got a good opportunity now that like Bowser is like Whittle. He's like a Whittle boy now in a jar. Like, I feel like he can be like a sidekick now. I mean, eventually they got to get to the point where, Bowser and Mario are all playing tennis and golf together, right? So it's like, I think we've got a good opportunity now for Bowser to kind of be on the good guy side, but kind of be more like a Donkey Kong style character where it's like more a rival than an enemy. And
it's Wario is what we need.
Wario, right? Wario and Waluigi as the baddies in the next one, or Bowser's kids, the Koopalings, right? But I think, Wario and Waluigi in the next one being the big bads, I would be totally cool with, especially if they, have it be kind of like a blend of like the Super Mario Land 2, Super Mario World storylines maybe, and then kind of like use that as a jumping off point to tell your own story. I think would be really cool for a sequel.
And then eventually it gets to, Mario and Sonic at the Beijing Olympics. We finally have that movie. Finally,
Yeah. Fuck it. Set it in a 2022 where COVID didn't happen and the Olympics actually happened in Tokyo. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
I think that the sequel feels like likely and especially given how well it's doing. I think they play it safe though. I think it is like a Wario, same sort of thing, you know what I mean? And maybe a little, I just don't know. I'm not sure that they're going to go super deep into anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that's what Miyamoto wants. Like, maybe a little more than we expect, but I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think that Nintendo is probably over the moon excited with how this is performing, right? And it hasn't even opened to Japan yet, right? That's later in the month. But it's like Nintendo's got to be very excited about this. Obviously, Universal is pleased as punch right now. You know what I mean? I think Universal's going to be bending over backwards to be like, what do you want to do, Nintendo, right? But I'll tell you this. I bet that 56% or whatever on Rotten Tomatoes stings a little bit for Nintendo. I think that they see that. I think that they're really happy with the audience score. I think they're really happy with all this stuff. But Nintendo games are like universally critically praised. You know what I mean? They're not used to seeing critic scores low. I bet you anything the next movie takes some of these criticisms to heart and finds a good balance. I bet we'll get a lot more characterization in the next movie. I think we'll get a lot more like character beats, emotional beats, stuff like that, like that's beyond just like speed running a Mario game as a movie, right? Like, I feel like, you got to think that they're seeing that and being like, okay, this is great. I love this, but let's put maybe a little bit more focus on making this like a better movie going forward. I might be wrong on that, but I feel like those critic reviews have to sting a little bit for Miyamoto.
To piggyback on that real quick, I think the thing that keeps hitting my mind is Zelda. And I think that's, like as much as we're saying there's a sequel to the Mario movie, maybe they weren't sure, but maybe they've been thinking about Zelda. And I think Zelda has the potential to do what you're talking about, right? Which is like, be like, Zelda could be more of a story, could be more appealing to people who aren't familiar with the franchise because fantasy is huge and what I mean? Like, and it can be more story based and that
I think it's got to be animated though. I think all these have to be animated because I think I want it, dude. I want the big Smash crossover movie, dude. I want it really, 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 really bad. I want a Kirby movie. I want a Star Fox movie. I want a Metroid movie. I want a Zelda movie. And then I want to have them all cross over in a big Smash Brothers movie. I would fucking lose it, dude. I would be so into that. I think they could do it too.
I think, I would be all down for a Smash movie just because it would be fun. I feel like maybe that could be a circumstance where it's like, oh, there's some that are the serious versions, whatever. But then when it comes to Smash, it's like, we could still just combine them, who cares, But I think you make a great point about the Zelda movie being like, there's no way they would want a Zelda movie to be like a 50% critic score. Like they would want that to be like the darling, like the one that goes, that like gets a Best Picture nomination or something, exactly,
I mean, fucking Peaches by Jack Black is eligible for an Oscar. Yeah. The question is, who do they get to do it? Because they're not going to get Illumination to do Zelda. They shouldn't get Illumination to do Zelda.
But man, they love Illumination. They just like, you keep seeing Meledandre and Miyamoto.
Well, dude, here's my pitch. Get the DreamWorks team that did Puss in Boots 2 for Zelda. They've got this really cool aesthetic that they've been working up in Puss in Boots 2. That's kind of like a bit of a tweak on the Spider-Verse aesthetic, right? I think that painterly look that Puss in Boots 2 has would work really, really well. I think like Meledandri is also one of the executive producers on that movie, so you can keep that thing going. It's a Universal owned animation studio, right? So it's like, I think either way, Universal is going to sweeten the pot and be like, Universal now has this partnership with Nintendo, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon. I think Nintendo technically can work with whatever studio they want, but I don't think they're going to leave Universal, because Universal's probably going to be like, listen, we'll literally do whatever you want. Keep us around. You're our biggest animated opening of all time. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's the pick of the litter. I've got a hankering now for the Puss in Boots team to do a Zelda movie, and I can't shake it. So
that'd be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Really, just one random thought real quick is that it's very interesting that, like, even though there have been Nintendo movies before, at least the Mario movie, I don't know if there's anything else, but their decision to have Nintendo like as their logo for their movie, which is in some ways this is the first one, is literally just the Nintendo characters from the past with the regular music. I was like, that's a fascinating choice, like to do, be like, this is who we are. Like that we're not acting like we're anything else. So this is it, So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really great stuff. I think we should do another episode on like, we've kind of already done an episode on like movies they should make, but now that the movie's out, I guess probably worth looking into like what they could do past this and what we want to see out of it.
I do think we should wrap this up, though. Any final thoughts before we close out? Anything you wanted to say but didn't get a chance to?
Well, Seth Rogen voice not trying at all didn't bother me.
Yeah, we never talked about Seth Rogen. So, yeah.
I know.
There were I counted 3 different parts where Seth Rogen just went. It was fine. He was fine. It wasn't my favorite in the movie, but he was good. Yeah. Yeah.
It is interesting that like they did the voice modulation for Jack Black, but nothing for Seth Rogen. It's like, oh, I guess it's just Seth Rogen.
And they did the voice modulation for Toad too, right?
I think only slightly. Like I've watched interviews with Keegan-Michael Key.
Oh, really?
He's pretty much there. I think that's majority just.
It's impressive then.
Yeah, he just got up that high. Yeah. Because they even had to like bring him down a little bit at one point. He was saying in an interview, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah. Also, Keegan-Michael Key just will do any movie, any voice acting. He's been in so many animated movies.
Yeah, he's an expressive dude.
All right, well, we'd love to hear what you thought about the Mario movie or anything we said in this discussion about it. And with that, we will take another short break and then talk about the video games that we've been playing recently. I mentioned it during the show, so I won't talk too much about it, but I played a lot of Splatoon, too much Splatoon. I actually took my Switch today and I put it in the other room. I can't have it near me.
Good for you.
I can't have it near me during work. I've been taking Splatoon breaks.
Yeah.
That turn into long long stretches. Okay.
The first step on the road to recovery is accepting that you have a problem.
I have a problem.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
there we go.
But the the game I do want to talk about is a game that we mentioned last week, which is The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. I downloaded The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog on my Steam Deck, and I played it with my son, and we beat it. It's about an hour and a half, I think. Maybe it took us somewhere between that and 2 hours. Loved it. So fun, honestly.
Really?
I highly recommend.
Was it kind of Agatha Christie-ish?
It scratched the visual novel Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney itch that I didn't realize I had because I hadn't played one of those in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great, but it was fun. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't hard. Well, the visual novel part wasn't hard. There's actual platforming in it to progress. At certain points, the character that you play as has to think and plays on their I forget what's a Dream Gear or Gear Dream or something like that, like a little handheld that they have.
Wonder Swan.
Yeah.
You have to play these sort of auto-running Sonic, kind of like if you've ever played the mobile Sonic games. It's sort of similar to those, where you move left and right, but a little more dynamic because it's not just 3 rows. You can be in the middle of them, and it's hard. I mean, it's not like hard, but it took me many tries to beat many of them. And there are accessibility options. You can, if that scares you, you can actually go in and turn down all of that. I beat it, but like, so it was a nice gameplay mix up. And if you like Sonic, if you like visual novels, we had a lot of fun playing through it.
Hell yeah. I'm glad it wasn't just like a little joke game.
No, and honestly, it's had over 1 million downloads on Steam, and it's got like exceptional reviews on Steam. I think it's like at this point, it's like the 63rd highest rated game on Steam or something like that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Wow.
Or something crazy. It's in the top 75.
You think we're going to get a sequel? No?
That's actually a really good question because it has done startlingly well for a joke game again within a week or 2 weeks now of launch. To get over 1 million downloads, I mean, it's free. So, right? Like, probably half those people didn't even play it or whatever. Like, but like,
I downloaded it. I didn't play it.
But that it has such good reviews and stuff. Honestly, my son and I had this conversation afterwards. Like, why don't more games? Or like, why doesn't
release for free?
Well, not that, but more like, why don't like properties make a visual novel like this? Because it was a fun exploration of these characters and like, I don't know. Yeah, I was like, and it's easy gameplay for people that, you know. Anyway, I'll stop talking about it.
No,
but hit me up if you want to talk about Sonic the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
We'll make a Sonic the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog club on the Discord.
Light spoiler too, it is very kid friendly. Like it is not an actual, like, don't listen to this if you want to go in blind, but they're playing a murder mystery game.
Wow, you just ruined it for me.
I ruined the whole thing, but that happens like instant or pretty instantly. That's not a spoiler, really.
That's all good. I'll go next. I've been playing just like a ton of games recently. Like I said, I modded my 3DS. So I'm not gonna like go through everything I've been playing on my 3DS because I've been trying out a bunch of stuff that I just like downloaded from like pirate shops on the 3DS that I added to my system. And that's been awesome. But I'll go through some of them. But to start with, on my Switch, I'm playing a little bit of Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics because I've been getting really into like Mancala again recently, like IRL, and that's been making me want to play online. So I've been doing some of that. I played some of Klonoa 2 from the Fantasy Reverie series collection that's on the Switch. And man, the Klonoa games are just incredible. If you haven't played them before, I really urge you do so. I downloaded a game on Steam drunkenly the other night called Blocky Dungeon, which I kind of forgot I downloaded until the next day. It's a really fun game. It's like a top-down dungeon crawling roguelike, but you build the dungeon by dropping Tetris blocks. And all the like little things, they're like you're dropping like Tetris blocks down a well, but then those shapes are making parts of the dungeon that you then have to kind of like clear to fight enemies. So really creative idea for a game. I want to dive more into it. I've only played it a little bit, but I'm having a really fun time. I love roguelikes. I love Tetris. So it seemed like it was right up my alley. On my 3DS, I downloaded like literally every single Picross game that you could possibly download on the 3DS. I now have like 19 Picross games on my 3DS, including like some really weird ones. I've got Sanrio characters, Picross, which is actually really good and cute. 2 Japan-only Club Nintendo Picross games have fan translations on the like pirate shop on the 3DS. So I downloaded those. All 9 Picross E series, which is like the Picross S series of the 3DS. So I've got like all of these. So I've got, if I ever lose all internet connection and I'm on a deserted island with an outlet, I'll have Picross until I die. What else? Played a little bit of Pushmo the other night. I was playing that for a while. Finally tried out Pilot Wings Resort for the 3DS. I'd never actually played that. It's okay. No Pilot Wings game is as good as the original Pilot Wings. I mean, let's just get real. Some other 3DS games that I tried. You know what? We'll call that on 3DS games. There's a lot more I want to talk about, and I'll probably be playing a lot more of these games going forward. I guess Escape I'll talk about, which is like kind of a spiritual successor to the Star Fox games made by one of the original Star Fox developers. That's on... That's a DSiWare game. It's like the sequel to X, but it was a DSi downloadable only game. And it's a really weird, very old school feeling game, but it's kind of fun. It has a lot of charm. I'm loving that. But I really just want to get to the main game I've been playing, which I've streamed twice now, which is Elden Ring. I actually started playing through Elden Ring. I guess actually I talked about this some last week. I tried it again. I don't know, guys. I don't know if this game is for me. I'm like talking to friends and they're like, oh yeah, it takes about 150 hours to beat the whole thing. And I'm like, I don't think I want to do this for 150 hours. I'm having fun with it, but I'm like, I'm so ridiculously lost. Like if chat wasn't telling me where to go, and for like the first half of my last stream, no one was telling me anything. And I was just like fighting people I was way too weak for. I was going in directions I had no idea what the fuck I was meant to be doing. And then finally, like Adam Chalmers got in the chat. It was like, oh, you're supposed to go east. And I was like, I don't know. The game didn't fucking tell me that. Or maybe it did and I just missed it. And now I went east and I'm doing marginally better than I was before. But I don't know how much I'm going to stick with this game. I'm going to try it a little bit more. I'm about like 5 or 6 hours in right now. But so much of that is just me dying and not making any progression. So it's like, we'll see how it goes. But I know this game is like very lauded. And I know people love the fucking Souls games. But I'm not convinced this is for me. Well, I'll give it another try. I might even stream it a couple more times, see if I can get the bite to finally get me. But I'm having so much fun fucking around on my modded 3DS that I might just keep doing that instead. We'll see what happens though. But that's what I've been playing this past week. What about you, Stefan? You been playing anything cool?
Yeah, I've been playing Bloodborne.
There you go.
Actually, I've beaten all the Souls games. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah,
you're wrong. Anyway, but
it's fine. I'll take the L.
It would be interesting because, like, when I played Elden Ring, I had played through all of them before, so it would be interesting for me to, like, if I'd only played one and I didn't complete it and jumping into this, I wonder what I would think. I recently got a PS5. I played through the remake of Resident Evil 4, which I had a great time with. And but then I was like, I had this copy of Dark Souls Remastered, which I had played Dark Souls on PS3. But I was like, if I ever get a PS5, I'll play through this, even though it's a PS4 game. I just felt like waiting until having a better console. And then it took me like 3 years to get one. I was like, well, finally playing through it. And I was like, oh, I still like this game a lot. And then I was like, you know what? I think 2017 is when I played Bloodborne. Might as well get that one another go around too. So, I feel like I'm, I wouldn't consider myself like an upper echelon player, but I'm definitely like going into this and being like, I remember when this was so much more intimidating, and now I'm like, I can do this. Come on. So it is. I think there's just something.
It gives you the confidence, right? Of after beating something like that, right? Maybe.
Yeah, it's just there's just something about it. Like when you have that sense of accomplishment that like it literally felt impossible, and then you do make it possible. It's just like. There's very few games like that. And also, Elden Ring is probably the most like this. But like, what I always like about those games is like they're hard, but they're not like something like Battletoads, like the first Battletoads game, where like it's hard.
It's like impossible. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's only one way to do it. Like this, you can level up. you could try a different weapon. You could try magic instead if you really want to, things like that. So, I don't know. Bloodborne, I was just like, I never really did parrying that much. And that in that game, especially, parrying is like a huge part of it. And I was like, you know what? Let's actually try it this time. And you parry with guns, so there's something kind of cool feeling to it. So I'm like, oh, I'm actually parrying this time. This probably would have made it way easier the first time I played it. So, but that's what I've been playing. When those Pixel remasters come out, I might jump into one of the ones I hadn't played, because I've beaten Final Fantasy 4 through 10, and I played a lot of 12. I never beat it, but it would be nice to just like fix the gap, that beginning gap.
Hell yeah.
Nice. That was a really great comment after David's comment on Elden Ring. I'm glad that you had that experience to share.
Different strokes for different folks.
Right. That totally is it. That is it, David. I don't think you should push yourself to play something you're not having fun playing.
No, I'll play it for 150 hours.
I mean, just some people just aren't cut out for it.
You shut your fucking mouth. You're never being on this show again.
No, yeah, you could probably.
I'll see you when Mario 2 comes out. Okay, but until then, we're not friends anymore.
You can probably kick my ass in Picross.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, I think that does it for our episode then. Stefan, despite our joking, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, we love you, Stefan. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick Online, I am PDYX.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Stefan? Where can people find you online?
So I'm on Instagram. I believe it's under my name, or Gilson2 randomly, which is a thing that I've been using since the 90s because my dad gave me an AOL address. It said Gilson2 because I'm the second son. But also, if I could do a shameless plug, if that's allowed.
Please,
here, my feature film, Remember to Forget, is releasing this on the 14th. So after this releases on the 12th, I guess. So 2 days. And you can find that at vimeo.com/on-demand/Remember to Forget. And you can get all the information on that film. David's seen it, and he says he likes it, so I believe him.
I do really like it. Yeah. I mean, Stefan, a great friend of mine and a coworker. We work at a Powerhouse together. And definitely check out Remember to Forget. I've seen it like twice now, I think. And I really, really like that movie a lot. And that's part of the reason why we wanted to have you on as a filmmaker for the Mario movie review, because it is peak cinema. Sorry, Stefan.
Yeah, but I'm sure the audience score on my movie is not going to be high. So
Critics, though, are going to
love it.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have a link to the Remember to Forget page in the description of this episode. So be sure you check that out. If you'd like to find our show on social media, folks, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We got a website, switchheads.com, and then we've got our Discord and our Facebook group, both of which are awesome communities. We really implore you to join the Discord. It's such a great community. We fucking bullied Vince last episode to join the Discord, and that totally worked. Are you on the Discord, Stefan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I already am, I promise.
Okay, all right. You motherfucker. All right. No, obviously, it's you can join if you like, or join if you don't. But it's, it's a great place to be, and we'd love to see you guys there. And thank you to this community for always being such an entertaining group of people. That's going to do it on this episode about the Mario movie. I could have talked about that for another 2 hours. I'm not even going to lie, but we got to call it somewhere. We're going to be back next week with another great episode, so make sure you tune in then. But until then, folks, you know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. We love you tons. Let's go. Let's bring this Mario movie to 2 billion. All right, let's beat Avatar 2: The Way of Water. Other than that,
it finally beat Morbius.
Yeah, right. Other than that, gang, we love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.